Every project seems like it has its challenges, and this one was no exception. So we've done a lot of infrastructure in our backyard to make it a decent and comfortable living space, not only for us, but for our kids as well. There was always some umbrellas here. You know the ones where you basically got to crank them up, and then they kind of work. They give you a little bit of shade. You might as well get 2 of them, and they really aren't tall enough to begin with. We've fixed all that with this. It's called a shade sail, and they're easy to find online, and they're even easier to install with the right technique. I'll show you all that in this video, and look at the height on this thing. This project was not without its challenges. One major one happened about 90% of the way through. I mean, I was proud of this thing. I had come up with these 300-pound behemoth stones with barnwood around them, and disaster struck. I'm working out here, and my wife said, "Did you see what happened?" And I'm looking through the window. Don't look good. I will detail about how that happened and how I've mitigated that problem, and it could have been way worse than it was. So, moving forward, I hope you get some inspiration from this project.
I'm jumping in.
And dump.
I'm
Lift
jumping
it
it
up.
in.
Lift it up.
I'm jumping it in.
And hopefully you like what you see. All right, to get this thing started, we're off to the big box store to get some of their finest material. And here it is, the latest and greatest banana ply. Have you ever heard of this stuff? Yeah, not because it's made from banana trees, but because it's made, well, with banana curves. As you can see, it's not the best stuff, but I need pressure treated ply, and this is all I had. So after cutting it down to dimensions on the table saw, I just need to make a form to hold some concrete. This stuff is just awful. I can't even tell you just how bad it is. I'm so used to working with high quality plywood for the business that this was a real eye-opener on just how bad the stuff is from the big box store. My goodness. Well, moving forward, I've got some 2x4s. These are also banana 2x4s, if you know what I mean. Actually, they weren't that bad. But anyway, I'm going with pressure treated once again because, yes, it is going to be around concrete, and I do want some of that, you know, protection from the moisture and the elements. Now, there's plenty of ways to do this, but this is what I decided. I thought in theory that setting up a box and then cutting 2x4s to reinforce it would be a good idea, and it was. But then I had this other kind of crazy idea. I was going to put a 4x4 post in this box, fill it with concrete to make a very almost 300-pound anchor system for what I'm going to use to attach the shade sail to. Now, I did find that there might be this technique I can do where I'm going to go ahead and off-center it. Now, more on that in just a second. I'm kind of going overkill with this. A lot of liquid nails, a lot of screws. I don't want it to come apart, even though it probably wouldn't if I just used brad nails. But I tend to overdo things in woodworking sometimes, and well, I guess that's kind of an oxymoron. I'm overdoing it with the most underperforming material on the planet. What a struggle this was. This is the only time I remember in recent memory where I had to sand a piece, not because of aesthetics, but because of safety. There were so many splinters coming from this that I had to do this if I was going to handle it anymore. All right, moving over to the crosscut sled, we're going to cut these 2x4s down to these blocks. Now here is where I'm doing this theory of doing off-centered 4x4. I've got some spacers. I'm going to clamp those in place with some squeeze clamps, and then I'm going to screw these blocks into each other right at a 90-degree angle from each other. Now, occasionally you'll have an idea where, why don't you just attach the blocks together before you install them? And that's what I'm doing here. And you can see this one is going to be right at a 90-degree from it. And then in theory, the 4x4 is going to rest in that little 90-degree angle we just made, offsetting it from the center of the box. Jeez. Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is some barnwood that a friend of mine gave me. It is from who knows where, but it's about 100 years old. It's some red oak. Thank you, Mike. I want to give you a shout out. I appreciate you, brother. And it is absolutely gorgeous. Going to use it on this project. We're going to clad those pressure treated boxes. That way they, you know, at least look good while they're sitting on the patio. So to attach these to the box, I'm going to use some of this Total Boats Thixo. It's basically a thick epoxy that doesn't run, that joins together 2 parts in the nozzle that you attach to it, and you just simply apply it with a caulking gun. Lay down a pretty decent amount, and then just brad nail it in place, and it'll hold it all weather conditions, good to go. I mean, if it's good for boats, it's going to be good for your patio. I do want to let you guys know that all the pressure treated stuff and all this barnwood, I am cutting on a saw stop, but I am disengaging the brake before I make each of these cuts. 1, I don't want the pressure treated stuff to set it off, and 2, I don't want some of the barnwood, it might have some nails or whatever in it, and I just err on the side of caution by taking that brake off, that way it doesn't trigger it. Do that when you're working with materials that are foreign. Using the blob technique this time instead of running a bead. I think squishing it into place might be a bit better of a hold. And looks like I'm getting a visitor. What's up, buddy? He's always in and out, especially, you know, on weekends. I am actually finishing this up on the weekend, and he's home, and so is my daughter, and it was actually great. Usually I work on projects when they're at school, but this was actually really nice to have them around. You'll see more of her later on, too. It's pretty funny. All right, moving on. We're going to keep on with this thickened epoxy, and we're going to build this just so. Now, this actually looks pretty good. If you're into rustic, hey, barnwood's the way to go. I do want to get your thoughts, though. What do you think is too far with rustic? You tell me. Lay it down there in the comments. Let me know. Okay, these little pieces I just cut are actually for the bottom. Sometimes when you put in a whole bunch of concrete into some wood like this, it kind of bows at the bottom. And I don't want this thing rolling around like a roly-poly. So I'm going to give it some feet to give it a little bit more rigidity. And if I need to, I can sand down one or two of these to make it completely level. So during that trip to that big box store where I got that banana wood, well, I couldn't use banana wood for the 4x4s. And their selection of 4x4 pressure treated material was absolutely awful. They did have, however, some non-pressure treated stuff that was pretty straight. So I'm using that. I'm going to paint it with some white paint, exterior paint. And also the part that's going to go into the concrete, I'm going to try my hand at some of this Tyvek tape. Hopefully it works. So my theory here, by installing this post not in the dead center of the block, a little bit off center, is that we'll give it more weight for it to kind of resist pulling over. The reason being is that, you know, I mean, in theory, that the shade sail could essentially fall over, but I don't think it's going to happen with this. But I think this technique is going to work well, as about 300 pounds of concrete is going to be poured into this block. I think we're going to be in good shape. All right, y'all. Don't forget, like this post. And I will say there is no apology for that at all, because I thought that was funny. All right, very simply, make sure if you're working with concrete, lay down some plastic wrap before you do it on your paver patio. Don't ask me how I know. Either way, we're going to use a pretty simple technique here. We're going to measure out our water. Basically, follow your instructions on the bag, and you can use less or a little bit more water than what it says, contingent upon your liking. And I find that I just needed to go a little bit more water than what it said to give me the best kind of viscosity or whatever, workability, whatever you want to say. Anyway, this is a pretty easy process, but it doesn't come without its challenges for sure. Concrete is, well, it's heavy and it's messy and it's kind of a pain sometimes. But if you just kind of work methodically and go at it one bag at a time, you will have really good success. So I definitely recommend, if you've never used it before, give it a go, give it a shot. You'll be surprised at how easy it is. So that first batch, I used a little bit less water than I probably should have. Second batch looks pretty good. You want that consistency of peanut butter. It all works out in the end. I mean, honestly, you could dry pour this if you wanted to, which is a technique where you pour in some concrete dry, give it a little water, lather, rinse, repeat. Okay, so what I found basically with this 80-pound Sackcrete, the 4-quart bucket filled to the brim is perfect. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm here in Northeast Florida, but anyway, that consistency seems to be great for this project. Just want to throw that out there. And like clockwork, when I'm into something a little bit messy, guess who comes around? Oh, there she is. She's like, I want to do it. I'm going to go put on my rain boots. So check this out. You know, I encourage you, if you have kids, there's a little saying that I believe I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say, where give your infant or even your toddler an egg and just see what happens. Let them discover things. Let them make a mess. Let them get involved. And I really, once hearing that, I just thought, you know what, there's an absolute truth to that. If she wants to put on boots and maybe it postpones me from doing this a little faster than normal, that's completely okay. So I know a bunch of makers out there that got a bunch of kids, and I know you all feel the same way I do. I just want to reiterate that it's one of life's simple pleasures, is having a child and letting them do and explore and watching them grow. And this moment here between us was absolutely fantastic. You don't need a whole bunch. You just need a little bit if you want to put some in. And dump it.
I'm
Lift it
jumping
up.
it in.
Lift it up.
I'm jumping it in.
Okay. All the way up. Pull it up. Now put it back in. Put it back in the wheelbarrow. Good job, baby. Careful. Really cool moment. A lot of my fans that still watch these videos kind of remember the iteration of me starting this channel when she was only 6 months old, and she's been in videos ever since. And she's not in them as much anymore because they go to school and I work when they're there. But this weekend was fantastic, and it's just been a delight having them around. So after manipulating it with my hand and kind of giving it kind of a smooth surface, we're gonna come back, pat it dry, and then I'm gonna lay some burlap down just to see if it does anything. I don't know if this is gonna work or not, but hey, another visit.
Let's see how this works.
So now, where are we going? Where are we going? We're gonna go take a little car ride. I don't want those fingers getting in that concrete. So after our hour-long car ride, it is about 2 hours later now, and we're gonna pull this burlap off to, well, mixed results. I guess it's kind of cool. You could just take a brush, maybe a paintbrush, and do some texture if you want to on concrete. But let's go ahead and draw our attention now to installing the shade sail. First step is to go ahead and draw a hole and then use a lag bolt that basically has an eyelet on the end of it. We're going to screw this in. Make sure you get a nice solid surface. Make sure you're screwing into real wood, solid wood. Can't reiterate that enough. All right, and before I put these big concrete blocks in place, I'm going to move some of these umbrellas out of the way. I like these, but I kind of don't. They really don't, I don't know, they don't work as well as advertised. And just wrap some rope around it and pull it there for us. About 200 pounds of sand in there. What's even better, though, is watching it in reverse. Check this out. It's like, whoa, buddy. Easy there, buddy. Woohoo. All right, let's go ahead and put our blocks in place. This is a 20 by 20 foot shade sail, and I've got the anchor points about 25 feet away from each other. And it's the next day. I painted the post white. Who wants to see someone paint? You all know that. And here's an interaction between me and my daughter while I'm installing it, and she says some pretty funny stuff. So check this out.
You need to be more careful, you know.
Telling me I gotta be more careful. Maybe that's some foreshadowing. And apparently this was meow-tastic.
Meow-tastic.
Not sure exactly where that came from, but I'll take that as a compliment, and she's about to take over. Check this out.
I waved at the camera.
So I'm extremely grateful for moments like this. She really does just overflow my cup like crazy. And a lot of people, when they see machines in shops, they get upset. But I'm gonna tell you right now, these machines put food on our table. If you don't know what we're all about, I'm gonna invite you to check out aglimpseinside.org. I'm gonna give you an example. This here is a random orbit sander that's in a mount that I've made. That's a jig that I sell. You put it together, and then you have a functional piece that holds a sander upside down for precision sanding. So check out the website down below. Everything's linked in the description, and I appreciate it very much. Okay, now on to a very unorthodox way to install what I believe is the most interesting part of this project. Check this out. So essentially 2 pieces of wood sandwiched together with a hole in them to accept a 1.5 inch diameter piece of PVC. Now, we're gonna move our attention over to the table that I built years ago, which still works. Okay, truth be told, my wife and I play this game. It's called Do You Have? Now, she's kind of a collector of things, right? And so what I need basically is something to go on the bottom of this, which this is why I'm doing this. I need like seatbelt material. So I just went inside. I said, do you have like a roll of seatbelt material? My goodness, it couldn't be more prevalent than me doing this project right now to get rid of the era. And she goes, yeah, let me show you. Watch this. Enter our playroom here for the kids. And lo and behold, this cabinet here, yeah, the whole roll of it right there. But she had some of it just sitting just like this. I'm telling you, man, look at this stuff. You know, this is why, one of the many reasons I love her. She just has the flair for decor. All right, back to work. Get under the table and let's get this thing installed. If you've ever tried to drill through fabric or use some screws through any type of fabric, the fabric ends up just like catching and going crazy. So we're gonna try a technique here. I've never tried this before. I'm gonna sandwich some pieces of fabric through some wood, clamp it down, You think it'll work? Let's give it a go. Hey, no. Ha! It did work. So yeah, we're good to go. All right, we're gonna install these. Now this is a really unorthodox way to stop a pole from going through a PVC pipe. I probably could just insert like a screw through this pipe and it'd be fine. But I'm trying this and we'll see if it works. If I need to go to plan B, that's what I do, but why not? All right, so this crazy idea is to take a Frisbee, a fender washer, and a deck screw and attach it to the end of this. I almost feel like a Ninja Turtle. Was it Donatello? I think so. Anyway, that's the idea. So maybe a little bit of a little 5-minute epoxy or something right in there. We'll see if it works. Let's try it. All right, so we pre-drill a hole and we drill a hole into the Frisbee right in the center, and then we just attach it with a screw and a fender washer like I said before. This process, pretty easy. Yeah. Hold still. Round 2. And there's a problem. I worry, here, let me take you in here. I worry that there's just too much flex in that I think I'm gonna need probably a circle in there. Let's do that. You can do this by hand, but I have no shame here because these machines earn me a living. And I'm gonna cut a circle the easiest way I know how, on the Thunder Laser. So here we are, same thing, but a disc of wood. Now that's what I'm talking about. All right, let's see if this crazy idea is gonna work. So I'm using the Frisbee because there's no jagged edges. And even though there's a screw at the top and a fender washer, it works great. That's insane. I think you could tell that I'm surprised at the results. We'll see. We'll see if it holds up. Ideally, I would want this a little more in the center. So if you're wondering why we have just a section of grass here that's artificial, my son loves it. The tactileness of it, loves playing on it. So, all right. I got to get back here with you and look at it. Looks pretty good. So at this point, I'm feeling really great that this whole project came together. And honestly, the Frisbee thing was a kind of a quirky idea, but it works. And now we have shade in a much bigger capacity that's well above our heads. That should be great for years to come. Until this. All right, I'm working out here. My wife said, "Did you see what happened?" And I'm looking through the window. Don't look good. Okay. Well, that's not good. Glad it happened when the kids were, man, oh my God. Okay, the kids are at school, and like I said, I'm glad it happened when they were, I mean, that's hugely heavy. That could have been, man, oh man. Just being transparent with you guys, that sometimes you think you have a good idea and it may not work. So let's all right, let's fix it somehow. So my initial thought is not to just make these heavier or wider. It's actually to extend it all the way to the house, which is fine for this side of the house, but the other side, the paracord's gonna have to be 25 feet. And I just never thought that would be a viable option, but I'm gonna try it and we'll see if it works. You know, but first you actually have to cut your paracord to the proper length. Oh my goodness. Alright, let's try it again. So the technique I'm using is basically threading the paracord through a carabiner and the pulley on the house, and then using the hitch technique. It's kind of pretty interesting. It just kind of cinches and locks on itself. I'll show you more about how that works in just a minute. But I've repeated this process on the other side of the house, and it actually worked. I'm really surprised. I mean, was it a failure? I don't know. Let's I guess we could talk about that. Was it a failure? In certain regards, yes. My inability to realize that the span I was covering was too large for the weight of what I had made. Now, however, I will show you this. I'm contemplating on putting these up against this little building here. That's my shipping shed. And that's a small sail. That's probably going to be just fine. I'll do an experiment and see how it works. But was it a failure? Absolutely it was. There's a lot of mantra about, is it a failure? Is it a learning experience? I think people say there is no failure, there is only learning. Well, if this would have happened with my son walking by and that thing, I can't even imagine. Okay, so it didn't happen, and this isn't the first time that something has come crashing down around my shop or around what things I've done. You just got to learn and move forward and try to be smarter next time. And I'll be very humbled to say that this was not the smartest decision to make something like this, even though it's really heavy and it has a hard time falling down. But a 20-foot sail, which is basically on a 20-mile-an-hour gust, has a lot of power, okay, as we saw. So just learn from my mistakes, and we'll continue on. And I actually did this technique over on this side of the house. I'll show you that in a second. And it's for an interesting thing that is a topic that's on another video on my second channel. So look forward to that one, and we'll just dive into more of it. Oh, and at this point in the video, I haven't installed the Frisbee back on this thing because I thought it was just high enough. However, I've done it now, and it works better than before. But here's me installing it again, just for giggles. Let's put that back up and see what it looks like. Yeah, it makes it nice. All right, so here's another example of how this knot works. Let me show you. So here is another shade sail, and essentially I have a carabiner with basically a paracord just double knotted onto it. Okay, and we're going to take it and we're going to attach it to that sail. Now over there. Now I'm taking that paracord and we are threading it through an eyelet that is lag screwed into a 4x4 on the other side of this fence. We're going to pull. And if you guessed, it's for a car. But you're going to pull it, and then you're going to pull this back up through that carabiner and then back towards the fence. In doing so, you get a lot of leverage on this, but it doesn't lock in place yet. All you have to do, this is crazy how this works, just take that paracord through and back through the carabiner again. And then when you pull tension, see that? It just stays. It's kind of hard to tell. The focus isn't the best. But yeah, check this out. Just pull it. There you go. It just stays there. Pretty awesome. Then I just finish it off by bringing a simple little knot through it. And then I like to just double up the material just a little bit. And then just kind of wrap it. Not fancy at all. Back through some of that material and just pull it tight. And you're fine. You're good to go. It's real late in the day and there's a little bit of sun coming in, but this is the shade sail I've put over a 1995 BMW 7 Series imported from Europe. I'm not going to get into that here. I have a whole video on my second channel that's in the description about this car and why a YouTubing woodworker would buy such an old car. Okay? If you want to hear that story and hear why I even have it, it's there. I guess I should have thought about this before I put it back here. I mean, this car is in our backyard now. Hey, you want to drive? You gonna drive? Well, it's successfully been through its first rainstorm and it's good to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Your viewership is enough for me, but if you want to support us thus further, check out down below. We have our website, we have our Patreon, all that good stuff. I know I appreciate it, my kids appreciate it, and check out the website. It really does mean a lot to me. That's how we earn our keep around here these days. We make for makers. It's kind of an interesting niche, but it works. So if you haven't been there, go check it out, glimpseinside.org. Guys, have a great day. I'll see you on the next video. Until then, take care. Seriously, go watch that second channel video on why I have a car that's 30 years old.